So, the Babadook has been the butt of a long-running joke within my family that started off as my cousin, who we frequently watch horror movies with, pranking my mom. She got hit with the, "Oh my god, Auntie, this is the greatest movie ever, and you have to sit down and watch it." Uh, and she did, and she hated it. Now, being the son that I am, I took that and ran with it and turned it into a gag gift for Christmas one year. Actually, what my wife and I did was we printed off 5-star Amazon reviews and used them as wrapping paper so that when she read them, she honestly thought that she was getting something good. But it was just something that has been rotting a hole in her collection ever since. Um, until recently when it was handed back to me. Now, it would have been all well and good if she just said, "You know what, I don't want this. I know that you probably do, or you'll at least take it to have in your collection and just be done with it there." But she actually did that because she upgraded to the Blu-ray copy of it. So if you ask me, I think she's struggling with being kind of a closet fan of the Babadook. But nevertheless, it is my turn to check this thing out, and under threat of disownment, if I actually liked it, I guess the question would be, what did I think? Well, let me start here. Right away, I was able to tell that this wasn't going to be a movie up my mom's alley. It is a pretty artsy style horror movie, which she's never been particularly fond of. But she did say that the number one thing that she hated about it was Mr. Babadook himself. Um, Everything from his character design to the usage of him in the film, and which I have to assume is how my cousin feels as well. But on that point, I would also have to agree. I think that as a physical entity, or a monster, if you will, he is the worst part of his own movie. I don't want to say that his presence is unimportant, but I will say that it feels a little unnecessary compared to everything going on in the rest of the movie. Flowers that I am willing to give him is that I think he's a far more effective, multifaceted tool for the movie itself. He's a pretty good distraction for the audience. While the movie snaps its plot points together and gets ready to reveal to you what's actually going on, because it's pretty easy to cheer for a family being terrorized by this demon. But I also think he's a pretty solid representation for how Samuel, I'm just going to call him Sam for the rest of this review, views everything going on with his mom and her mental and emotional health. Because really, how do you communicate to a 6-year-old that your toes are dangling over the edge and you're on the verge of a psychotic break of sorts? I think the easiest way for him to comprehend it all is to see it as this terrible beast that comes out of the wardrobe with intent of hurting his mom that he needs to protect her from. If I was in his shoes and that was my mom, I would probably articulate it much the same way. Now, I want to handle my criticisms of the characters here with a great amount of care and respect, because I know mental and emotional health are pretty intimate and personal topics for people, and everybody handles the complexities of them in very different ways. But I gotta tell you, I really don't like the mom here. I know that they're trying to get you to feel every pound of the weight that grief has put on her. And that she is trapped within this specific mindset. She's coasting through life on autopilot, barely keeping her head above water from day to day. And I think it would sit a little bit better with me if this movie took place, let's just say, within 6 months to a year of her husband's passing. A period of time where it would make sense for it to feel so fresh and raw. Of course, she is going to have difficulties dealing with his personal effects that she keeps locked in the basement. Of course, she's not really going to know how to handle when his name gets mentioned in casual conversations, because she's still trying to figure out how to navigate life and what that all looks like without her person. But it just feels wrong. It feels gross to me to have her that deep in grief 6 years on. She's very plainly somebody that needs help. They both are. She's obviously got the firsthand trauma of the experience, and Sam understandably has some fears pertaining to losing the only parent he's got left. And everybody has kind of acknowledged it and kind of brought it up to her in various ways. But she's, I think, still trying to convince herself that she's okay and everything's fine. But without any real ambition to seek that treatment and to better her quality of life. If not for herself, then for her son's sake at the very least. Her son, by the way, who also carries a lot of the blame for what happened. And that I can understand too. You know, Sam is the last living piece of her husband that she's ever going to have. Everything that he thinks, says, or does is going to be a constant reminder of him. Even the fact that he is more than likely going to grow up to be a spitting image of his dad is going to hurt. And I understand that. And sure, he's kind of a shitheel at different points throughout this movie, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still a 6-year-old kid who's innocent of all of this. And it's a much more heartbreaking realization to come to when you realize that this has been happening his entire life. Basically, the super morose, barely functioning version of his mom is the only one he's ever known. He has no idea who his mom really is outside of that. And I suppose that's kind of the beauty of the end of the story, where she overcomes all of it and realizes that, it's never really going to go away. It's always going to be a part of her, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to dwell in it or let it consume you. You can cope with it healthily when it pops up, and then you can go on living your beautiful life, which is great. And I think it's great that she got to that point before she murdered her son. I just wish that we could have gotten there before anything happened to the dog. Like, couldn't we have put him in a closet or under a bed for safekeeping until this all blows over, and then the mom, the son, and the dog can live together in harmony? I don't know. Uh, I guess at the end of the day, this isn't really a movie that I can say yay or nay to. I think it's the type of thing where you just have to sit down with it and feel out kind of where it lands with you. What I will say about it is that while I don't particularly like this movie, I can appreciate and respect how they handled the subject matter creatively. But that is going to wrap this video up, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you in the next one.